Hey, what is up? Let me go ahead and just put myself on there for now. You'll have plenty of time to see the other dope doctor in a second.
The other dope doctor?
No, I said the. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, man. This is a weird day. Let me just go ahead and put you on there. Why not? There he is. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dharma Time. I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, as always with the dope doctor here on WPSN99.com. I
Yeah,
haven't done that in a while.
I
Brett is
know.
my motivation for that. So,
That's
anyways,
true.
what's going on, man? How are you doing during these what the reducing regulated Corona times? I guess. Like
What, like right now?
I guess, man, regulations are going down. Are you going out more?
No,
I saw.
same.
You know what? I saw you post. I think it was yesterday. You took your dog to Ponce Inlet. I think I want
Yeah,
to. I want to take my dog to the beach. I want to see what he would do.
it's a perfect place, man. There was,
There was like nobody there. I saw in your background of your pictures. It was like it was just you.
no, there was people just, but everybody distanced. So you know how the news loves to just show the areas that everybody like is
Yeah.
there, so they can say,
Yes.
oh, Florida beaches. But what they don't show you is the beaches where the people, the residents, the visitors, the politicians, the local governments are actually doing it the right way.
Well,
Look, Daytona. What's wrong with it? Get the Daytona mayor like on board. What's up with Daytona? I don't know.
I don't know either.
But Volusia County is not the problem.
Sure.
Daytona
Sure.
may have been the problem, but right here in New Smyrna Beach, we're doing just fine.
It was a very good public service announcement, man. The check is going
I,
to be in the mail.
I appreciate it. Well, it'll only be like 17 cents.
Hey, it's
I'll
still a
take it.
check.
Make it direct
Anyways,
deposit, please.
so as I was telling everybody before we went live, I guess I don't know we don't
Yeah.
call it that, but we were talking about last week's show. We mentioned a few upcoming shows, and one that we chose for today was Celebrity Buddhist. And I think that we wanted to show that we wanted to have the show essentially just to kind of show people that it's not this weird mystical kind of thing where only people with long, gray beards and robes do in the middle of another country. Like everybody does it, kind of a thing.
Not just bald people.
Exactly. Just bald people do it better. That's all. What's up, Enrique? And for those of you who are listening to the podcast on one of the many podcast platforms that we're on, we
Right.
also simulcast via Facebook Live while we're doing this for people who want to look at our ugly mugs. And so when you see us randomly say hi, that's who we're saying hi to, is the people who are watching us and commenting on Facebook Live. All right, so Celebrity Buddhist, you want to just jump right into that, or you want to say anything
Yeah.
else?
Well, let's talk about like why we're even talking about it a little bit more because I mean, like you said, there is an image or a
Sure.
stereotype of everything, right?
Yep.
Whether you're talking Buddhists, Catholics, Christians, Muslims, anything. And so I think since we talk about Buddhism all the time on Dharma Time, I like that you had the idea to kind of maybe showcase some individuals like you that may not fit the profile that people usually think to be Buddhist. And I think there's some real surprising names on this list, by the way.
There was actually a few names that I had to actually Google to confirm.
There's one I'm looking at that he needed it.
Well, there's a few that I had to actually look at and to confirm. Now, let's preface this all by saying the list that we have. We don't know these people personally. I didn't sit down
Yeah,
and have a cup of coffee with them and talk to them and
yeah,
confirm. They don't have their special decoder rings or anything. They didn't know the secret handshake and stuff. I mean, we looked it up. We got a couple lists. I'm trusting that these lists have done at least some due diligence. Some of the names, they made sense immediately. A couple of the other
right,
names I actually had to Google to see if there's another source that would confirm this in any way. And oddly enough, I found it in some sort of way, which is interesting.
right,
There's
right.
two or three names, and I'm like, wow, okay, I would have lost that bet.
Well, here's what I hope though, or what I question is when they had it, because you look at some of the names,
Yeah,
and it's almost like you know how you have jailhouse religion.
sure, sure.
Some of these names are kind of similar to that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, there was at least one name that I was just like, what? But when I read the bio a little bit, it made more sense. So it's kind of an interesting list. I will say that. I will say that.
So should we start off with who we think the most famous one is, or the biggest name, or should we start off with like who's like which on that list is the funniest Buddhist?
The
or the
funniest Buddhist?
yeah,
Let me see. Let me pull up my
most
little list here.
athletic Buddhist, or the angriest or toughest Buddhist. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean?
know the one that was
Are
the.
we gonna give that kind of
Let's say,
award to these people?
well, it's all subjective, I guess, right? I mean, I will say the
What?
one that most people would least think.
Yeah,
If I'm thinking of a Buddhist, what I thought of prior to
right.
learning more about the philosophy, the extreme opposite of that, this person fits. Now we're going out of order
I mean,
here, so I
you
guess
mean like the most unassuming?
no, the most like what that person's a Buddhist.
Okay, the most likely not to be Buddhist.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's start with that. Who is the most likely Buddhist that doesn't appear to be Buddhist, or
um,
the most
I'm not sure
unlikely
how to. I'm
Buddhist?
not. I don't want to word this in a way that's going to upset people. But you and I probably, if we put on our daytime hats, it makes sense.
Okay.
Like when you were saying when they find Buddhism, kind of a thing. But
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
average everyday American who does not in our space would see this person and be like, "What?"
Okay.
And that person would be Courtney Love. Exactly. Exactly. So, being the fact that you and I both know that in the addiction world, Buddhism is a
Okay.
big thing, and a lot of people gravitate towards that, it doesn't, it makes kind of sense for us that maybe she found that through one of her stints in rehab or something.
So I,
However, but the average everyday individual, hearing that she was claiming to be a practicing Buddhist, it might come off a little like, what? Wow, okay. Because
I
that's
would
not
love to
typically what
know.
you think.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, there's people out there that still think she's a murderer. So,
Yeah.
um, she, I like her. I think
Yeah,
she's
I've
an
never really met. I
interesting
don't know a whole lot about
character.
her, to be honest with you.
Look, dude, let's be honest here, Trinity. We don't know a whole lot about any of these people. All we know is what
Touche.
these people know.
Well, I guess
So,
what I'm saying is I haven't looked up anything much about her. I mean, I paid more attention to Kurt Cobain than her, and even him I don't know much about
yeah,
other
but she's
than
just interesting. So, like, if it says Courtney Love on the television, or if it says Courtney, I do take a second look because she's known to be a train wreck
yeah,
at some parts of her life. So,
sure.
it doesn't actually she doesn't surprise me that she's Buddhist because uh, she could use it.
Well, had I not
And again,
known,
I don't know her, but
had
I'm
I
just
not known about the being the fact that now I'm in the addiction world
right,
and it's very prevalent in the addiction world,
right.
a lot of people seem to gravitate towards it.
Right. So you think that's how she got it?
I'm
You
gonna
think she
say I
got it?
haven't looked it up, but I'm gonna say that that makes sense to me. That
It's a
that
good bet.
that she probably stumbled across it somewhere in that
It's a good
world,
possibility.
if you will. But I'm just gonna go down the list here and just start picking some names.
Ah, try to stump me or something
Try
like
to
that.
stump you. Well,
Yeah,
you've
or
got
not.
some of the same list that I got. So
All right. Well, all right. But that was the most unassuming
okay. Well,
Buddhist.
here's one that I will say that there's a character. All right. So
Okay.
this gentleman played a character that was like we're gonna tell our age here a little bit, I guess.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna say it's a one name. He's got a full name, I'm sure, but anybody who watched this show knows him by one name. And this
Urkel.
particular, huh?
Urkel.
No, he might be on the list. I don't know. I haven't watched the whole thing, but so this person though, the character that they played on this show, which is a great show back in the day, was a pretty bad character. Like this person was did not embody any of the precepts that are included within Buddhism. So what they portrayed on screen is vastly different, apparently, than what their real life approach is.
The name that immediately came to my mind is probably not the person, but I'm thinking Beretta, and I'm probably aging myself more
Beretta,
than you.
wow, no,
Yeah,
he's
I'm
in
probably
jail right
aging me
now,
more
isn't
than
he?
you.
Wow, no, he
Well,
no, but
because he apparently he killed his wife
yeah, I
too,
would say
right?
he took it in real life. I'm not. This person did it on screen. Yeah, I'm not talking about real life murderers here because that would absolutely go against the precepts of Buddhism.
But he needs it too.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have
he needs
he,
something, all right.
yeah.
He needs a good appeals attorney, apparently.
Give me another hint other than just it's a one name character.
All right.
What makes him Buddhist? Is there anything trait about him that makes him Buddhist, or that should does he meet the stereotype at all, or no?
I think if you were to look at his clothing, the way he dresses when he's not on screen, you could probably get that vibe from him. But
Steven Seagal.
no, but he is on the list, and that to me is an obvious one. That's easy though. Whether he is or not, because he also claims to be all
He's a
sorts
cop
of
too, right?
yeah, he's everything, man. It's like the original Renaissance man. No, but this person, it's an older show.
Mm.
A very good show. If I said the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I can't say the show.
Oh,
But it was a main character on the show that was always doing the dirty stuff, always doing the bad stuff, always hurting people, and always up to something no good. So to hear that the person who played that character that went into that mindset to do such a good job in a character, to hear that that person's actually Buddhist outside is very cool.
Some clues about the show.
The show was on HBO. It was one of their first.
Oh, Prison Break, or
Come on, you get
the
it.
one like Prison Break. Oh man,
Come on,
Prison
come
Break.
on, you can do it. Oh, you're
Oh
testing those wrinkles in the brain right now, man.
my
It's
God,
two letters.
Oz.
Yes. So the name of the show is Oz. There's a character that went by
I
one.
love that show, Oz.
There's a character in there that went by one name, and he plays a similar character in many different.
Adebisi.
Yeah, Adebisi. Yep.
Adebisi is a Buddhist.
Yes. Yes. Obviously not the character because the character was quite bad.
Actually, that doesn't surprise. What I heard about that guy's got a tremendous cool story about how he became an actor and famous and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And he's actually a pretty interesting
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So if you see him off screen, the way he dresses and conducts
Yeah,
himself,
yeah,
it makes sense. But it's just interesting to me that the character that he portrays is
right,
so different than what
right.
the precepts are. Because
And
Adebisi was
you're
a
right.
horrible human being.
Yeah, you're right because the stuff that I had heard about him as an actor, as a person, was nothing like Adebisi.
No.
Not
And not only that, but that same because he's played multiple characters, obviously in different shows and movies, but a lot of times they're very similar to Adebisi's
He's
characters.
so good at Adebisi, though. He's
Oh,
so
of
good.
course, man.
That is a great. He's one of my favorite
Yes,
characters. Although I
Adebisi
would
was
never shake his hand. I would
no,
never shake his hand.
no. Adebisi was a great villain, though.
I'm really disappointed. Now that you brought up Oz, I'm really disappointed at how a lot of those characters never made it to their own full glory because there's a lot of great characters in there. And I'm so glad the guy from those commercials, the Mayhem guy.
Oh yeah, see, every time I see
O'Reilly.
him, I can't help
I
but
love
think,
O'Reilly.
yeah.
I
Every
can't
time
think
I
of
see him, I think Oz. Him and his brother.
He's O'Reilly to me.
His brother was Cyrus, right, or something?
Yeah.
Sirius, something like that.
Sirius. Yeah.
Yeah, but every time I see him, that's where I know him from. Actually, is that. But he's
Cyril.
been in a lot. Cyril, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And he was in a lot of stuff too, though. He wasn't just in the Allstate commercials.
I like O'Reilly, man. O'Reilly's badass. All right, give me another. Okay, well, then my turn. All right, so to me, the name that shocked me the most on this list is probably the most famous of all of them, because he's so more relevant to today's times. But somebody who really needed it. Traumatic issues with him and his wife. It was out in the public eye.
Oh, I already know where you're going. And you didn't know that?
I did not know he was Buddhist.
Who?
Well, I didn't give the name yet. Who are you guessing?
I'm thinking you're going to say Tiger Woods.
I am thinking Tiger Woods.
Yeah, that to me is obvious. His mom was was it Thailand, and his dad was black. His mom.
What is it? What does that mean?
Over in the
Aren't there a lot of Muslims over there too? Aren't there a lot of Christians over there
Muslims
too?
everywhere, but being the fact that he's got Asian heritage in him, it doesn't shock me as much because he grew up. When you see his previous life history, it was around. Like his mom was kind of into that stuff as well, so it doesn't shock me as much.
Well, the lust factor got me.
I didn't say he was. See, that's the thing, right? And we're going to cover this in our myth show, by the way. I really do want to do a myth show. Maybe we'll do that next week.
That's next week. Next week.
So everybody tuning in. Next week is going to be a myth show. One of the myths that are out there is people just think Buddhism and they automatically think perfection, and no, like he was unskillful and he definitely succumbed to
or very skillful.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, I guess.
One could make that argument.
But the point being, that goes into the idea that people have these misconceptions on what Buddhism is. And I'm excited actually to do next week's show because that's been a thorn on my side for many, many years. I definitely want to talk about it. So I'm excited for next week then.
Well, that one shocked me a little bit. I mean,
really?
not shocked, but it surprised me. Yeah, it surprised
I mean, I could jump straight to the one that shocked me the most.
What's shocking Buddhist?
There's two names that kind of shocked me. One I sort of understand. Another one caught me way out. This one is I actually had to Google this one to confirm it. And I guess once I read more about it, it made sense. But my initial response was like disbelief. Rosa Parks. I did not know Rosa Parks was practicing Buddhist. Later on in her life, she started doing the whole Gandhi thing, nonviolence and
wow.
yeah. So Rosa Parks was a Buddhist. I later on in her life, not obviously her her upbringing, but
Right.
she uh, saw the value in it and subscribed to those beliefs later on. I thought that was crazy. I did not. Wow, that shocked me. Having said that, the whole nonviolent thing and the protesting and the way she kind of went about stuff, yeah, it fits totally within the precepts. I just didn't. I'd never associated Rosa Parks with Buddhism ever in my mind. Like that would have never come up.
Well, yeah, that wouldn't have been on my list,
No.
but I think when you say that, so far it seems like every name was someone that probably went through some things. In other words, so far I don't think we've mentioned one that I think you would naturally know from birth they're Buddhist.
From
Is
birth.
that normal?
Yeah,
I mean,
I got a couple from
or maybe
birth.
that's for the myth show. Maybe that's for the myth show. But is that normal for people to later become a Buddhist compared
I
to
think it depends on where you're from.
here in the United States? I'm saying.
Yeah, I think here in the United States, I think that most people probably are not birthed into the philosophy because it's not. It's it's very trendy here in America. It's not like it's not as devout as other religions would say, and so I think most people kind of don't know much about it. They read a couple things and they like it, but they never really dive into it. And so they don't typically raise their children in it. They might raise their children with certain belief systems that adhere to it, but they typically don't go that route. And so
Yeah. Hmm.
most people that I know, like I know a few people that were not born here that had been Buddhist their entire lives.
Right.
The names on the list that were Buddhist their entire lives. When I say their names, it's gonna be obvious. Like for instance, Jackie Chan.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me.
Yeah,
Jet Li.
Jet
Jet
Li.
Li.
He's on the list as well. That was one of the other ones.
Right.
And there's another guy too. There's a big director of those kinds of films that they're always in. I cannot think of it. He's on the list somewhere. I have to find it.
Right. Right. But so in the United States, typically we're very I don't know, useful. I'm going to say we're users, right? We tend to use a lot of everything,
Yeah.
and so we're consumers. So to me, it kind of makes sense that we tend to use whatever is useful. So either you're born into a religion, or you pick a philosophy out of use,
Um.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or
It
like.
became useful to you, like our good friend, like Daryl Strawberry, for instance,
Mhm.
became a devout Christian out of use, something that he found useful to be,
Yeah.
in his life, something that helped him get through what he was going through, and therefore, he's a champion for that belief system, and that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I
You
think.
pick something out of use.
Well, oddly enough, there's another individual. I won't name names. I literally got off the phone with them probably about an hour before we went on air.
Mhm.
And so there's a few individuals that I gave a book to for Christmas or whatever. And in this book, it was talking a lot about. It was like an introduction to the Buddhist philosophy, essentially. And in these books, I wrote down a little thing in there, just saying, "Hey, look, you might not need it today, but at some point in your life, you might be searching for some answers, and maybe this will provide value." And I would give it to him, and I told him, "Look, I know you're not going to read it right now. You're not in a space in your life where you just have any interest in this. That's fine. Put it aside. Don't throw it away. Just put it aside. And one day you're going to have some questions, and this might have the answers." And I got a call this morning from somebody who I did that to probably, I'm going to say 10 years ago. I gave him a book. And then they called me today and says, "Dude, I started reading that book." I was like, "Really?" And they're going through some things right now in their life, just some growth, if you will. And they've been kind of talking to me off and on, asking me questions, not specifically about that path, but just in, mentorship type questions. And then
Right.
I didn't push the book at all or push the philosophy. I just said, "Look, man, these are the things basically look inward and try to get some help." And then on their own, they dusted it off and cracked it open, and they called me up and said, "Man, it's already helping." Like they read some of it, and some of the issues that they were dealing with have already started to kind of like the path has been shown a little bit, and
Right.
they're seeing things changing for themselves from an organic way, and so to me, I think that's how it happens, right? That's how it happened for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think for a lot of people, you get to a point in your life where the old things just aren't answering stuff for you anymore,
Right.
and something else pops along. Sometimes for some people it is what you were raised with. It makes sense now that it didn't make sense before, but for others, something new comes along that says similar things, but just in a different way that just for whatever reason at that moment in time clicks for you and it helps. And so I think that that's where a lot of people are going to find, especially Buddhism. I think a lot of people are going to stumble because the religion itself in Christianity, let's say, there was a time period of my life where I was very anti-Christianity, anti-religion. Period. I hated it. I've since obviously seen the wisdom in each one of those for individuals,
Yeah.
but part of the reason why I didn't like it as much was not the religion itself, but the practitioners. The religions themselves are infallible, but the people were.
Right.
And so
Right.
for me, I associated the two together, and oftentimes, I didn't feel very accepted from a lot of the people who were subscribing to the Christian religion. I
Right.
felt very judged. I felt very ridiculed. I can't tell you how many times I've been told I'm going to hell because of my tattoos and stuff. And
Because
so,
of tattoos.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
You have 666 on you or something?
No,
Six
no,
six.
just the tattoos themselves. So a lot of very judgmental people under the guise of religion. Now they were
Right.
judgmental; the religion was not.
Right.
However, when you're in
Yeah.
your adolescence and stuff, and you're hearing these types of things, you associate the two.
Mm.
And so for me, when I stumbled across Buddhism, and I still remember the story. Like there was one story in the book that I was reading. There was a gentleman named Noah Levine, and he was kind of big in the him and his father and Jack Cornfield. They kind of practiced Buddhism in a different way, Vipassana, if you will. And he was walking through the airport, and the Dalai Lama was there, and they met one another. And the Dalai Lama looked at Noah Levine, who's covered in tattoos, and he said, "Oh, beautiful artwork," and went on his way. That was a really interesting story for me. Like, here's this Dalai Lama who is like the Pope, if you will, for
Right. Right.
Buddhism, holy man, very wise, like just revered in many circles, no matter who you are, and to see pure acceptance was just amazing to me. It was like, wow, dude, like wow, and so that encouraged me to read more, and so I think it's like a warm blanket for those people who felt outcast or felt judged and stuff like that. So I can
Right.
totally
Right.
see people who feel judged harshly seeing the total acceptance and love coming from Buddhism to be drawn to that. Sadly, though, Christianity should be the same way, and I know many people who do practice it that way. But for whatever reason, if that's not your personal experience, then I can see you gravitating to something else. And I think a lot of the people on this list that I'm looking at, my cynical side wants to say a lot of them are doing it because it's trendy and they're celebrities, and that's just kind of like, they met the right person at the right time. It was a trendy type thing, and they kind of, oh, yeah, that's what I do. I'm sure there's a few of them on there. But I also think there's a couple other ones on here who probably did go through some serious things, and it spoke to them in a very real way. Like
From my
people,
understanding, Noah needs a little bit more practice.
yeah, he definitely handles some things unskillfully. That's for sure. But like one of the names that pops on my list for our age group and probably a little bit older, this person's been a Buddhist. Like he was when I say celebrity Buddhist, that's the first name that pops in my head, just because he's been that way for as long as I can remember. Richard Gere. I mean, he's been,
He's probably the first person I ever heard
yeah,
of being Buddhist that was famous.
yeah. I mean, he's been touting it for years. I mean, and he's been
And
out.
he has that mellow kind of
Yeah,
cool vibe about him, period.
yeah. And so
I
for
think,
somebody like him, I think it's real. Like I think he's legitimately
right.
discovered it, and it spoke to him, and it helped him, and he's been doing it ever since. Not that I'm in a position to judge anybody else's genuineness or not, but there's certain ones, like you said, you wonder when they found it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Do you know when he found it? I mean,
I don't. No.
oh,
I just,
because
for as long as I've been alive and known the
yeah,
name Richard Gere,
right, right,
he's been a Buddhist. So I
right.
don't know anything about him prior to.
What I think, it's different. So far, the people we're mentioning, so you think Buddhist and you think like Scientologists, right?
Wow. Okay.
Well, the reason I say that is because the Scientologist list, you look at like there's some interesting
Okay.
characteristics. The ones that are leading that banner,
Okay.
and then in this one, it's a very different because like Tiger has that real flat kind of cool demeanor.
Right.
Richard has that cool, calm demeanor. Not so much Courtney Love. If you would have told me Courtney Love was a
Yeah.
Scientologist, I probably would have believed that.
Well, here's
But
another name.
okay,
This person is a musician.
okay,
They're no longer with us, but they were a musician. They were. I would say my term for them would be eclectic, is what I would call them.
eclectic.
Yeah. the music to me was okay. You know, a lot of people really love their music though.
Mm.
I liked some of it, not all of it. David Bowie.
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah,
David
but
Bowie was Buddhist.
yeah, he's on the list. That's one that to me was like, wow, okay. Just because
Yeah.
his persona does not scream Buddhist,
No,
but I also
no.
don't know. I mean,
It screams excess.
yeah. That's why I said eccentric. I was trying to be gentle with
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, but smart,
Yeah,
intellectual. So again, it taps into that myth or stereotype about it being intellectuals because I could see him getting into it for the intellectual purpose of it and the need to find something that is less in excess.
right.
Very possible that he also got it through addiction or
Yeah,
recovery.
sure.
Very possible.
Well, another name on here that I wasn't. Now, had I not seen any interviews with this person and knew them only through movies and stuff like that,
Okay.
I don't know if I would have connected the dots as well. But once I've seen this person in interviews and I've seen the way they conduct themselves, to me, not only was this is kind of weird, but not only was I not as shocked, but I was almost proud, I guess. Like, I like this dude a lot. Once I've seen, I love some of his movies. One of my favorite characters ever, this guy played.
Okay.
And when I've seen his interviews and stuff, he just seems like a really cool dude. Like, I like his vibe. Jeff
Hmm.
Bridges, he played the dude,
The
man.
dude.
The dude, man. Come on, this is one of the best movies, The Big Lebowski. But
I don't know if it's one of the best movies, but
oh, dude, that movie's
no,
hilarious.
I don't know that.
That movie's
But
hilarious. But anyways, but when I've seen his interviews, very chill vibe, very mellow, kind of just a cool guy. Um,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely very mellow. Definitely very. Yeah, he's got some of that. I mean, I would have thought that was more marijuana than Buddhism,
maybe both.
but uh, but yeah, he's got that real chill kind of demeanor. I can see that. That's not so shocking.
Yeah,
He seems like a cool guy. I
yeah,
mean, he's just the dude. I mean, and I mean, once he played that character, I guess he'll always be just
it's
the
such a
dude, right?
great character, man. The
Yeah.
dude.
His brother wishes he would have got that character to play. And he's still looking for that role, I guess.
Uh,
But I'll tell you the name that shocked me probably the most,
okay.
and I'm also shocked to find out that she was a Buddhist before a lot of the chaos in her life, and the only reason we know she's Buddhist is because she actually does interviews and says, "Hey, I used the Buddhism to leave my husband from that chaos." Do you know who I'm thinking about? And that she's entertainer, artist, singer.
Tina
Uh,
Turner.
yep.
Right on.
Now that was to me a name on the list that I was like
So wait a minute, you've actually looked that up, but she had it before all the chaos, because I
before.
mean, because she had quite a bit of
Yeah, I had
stuff.
to look that one. I had to look that up when I saw the name because
Wow.
it
Did it say how she found it? Was she raised with it, or did
did
she?
not. I did not see that. I did not go that in depth, but I did see that she gave credit to her Buddhism. It even says the type of Buddhism, Nichiren
Okay.
Buddhism. Which am I saying it right? I don't know what
Dude,
Nichiren
there's
Buddhism.
literally so many of them.
Okay, and I guess it's anyway. She gave credit to that on Larry King Live back in the day. Of
Wow.
that gave her the strength to leave her husband.
Wow.
And
Oddly enough,
and that has all the fame attached to it. As far as
yeah, of course.
Ted and Tina.
Oddly enough, that's actually what gave me. I never really.
What did I say?
I can.
Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never really looked at it quite that way, but saying it that way, that was what gave me the strength to walk away from my career,
Mm.
because I was just done. I realized that I wasn't gonna. I had to love myself, and staying in that
Yeah.
place was not loving myself, and I had to go. But if it wasn't for stumbling across Buddhism and kind of learning to love myself a little bit more, I don't think I ever would have left. I'd still
Right.
be there.
So that's cool, right?
Yeah, so
I
it makes
mean,
sense. Like I can relate to her story there. I mean, it's interesting.
yeah. Hmm.
Next one I have on here, like there's some soccer players that I don't really know that well, like Roberto Baggio and Mario Balotelli. They're soccer players over in Italy. I don't
Why are
know.
you even mentioning them if we don't know them that well? I mean,
Somebody might. I don't know. Somebody on who's
name a
watching this.
football player, and then maybe we'll be a little bit more known.
Orlando Bloom is an actor that I guess I'm not too surprised, and his
I, The name sounds familiar. I don't know the face, man.
He played
Sounds like a familiar name.
Orlando Bloom. He's like a little pretty boy who played in some of the Pirates of the Caribbean with Johnny Depp and all them.
Which one?
He was like a little like heartthrob in like probably the mid to late '90s.
Yeah, I
Very,
guess that's why I know the name, but I
yeah.
can't picture the face. I don't know who
Most
that
of
is.
his characters that he plays are very kind of mellow, pacifist kind of people. Anyways, like that's the vibe he gives off. So I'm not too shocked that that's his thing. Kate Bosworth was one that I found interesting, just because she doesn't talk about it in the limelight very much. But to hear that that's what it was, I thought that was
You know,
kind of cool.
the what do you call it? If you're gonna go old school, what about Aquaman?
Aquaman.
Aquaman, Patrick Duffy.
Okay, that's
You,
probably before my time there, bro.
I'm dating myself again.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
when you said Aquaman, my first thought was the latest one. Jason Momoa, which I would not. I would be shocked to find out he wasn't Buddhist because I know his.
He does carry those traits.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not only that, the family he comes from.
Not only that, but even if it was just because it was fashionable, he's somebody that I would think if I didn't know a lot about him, he gives me the impression of doing things that are a little bit more showy, more. I mean, he just presents that way. I'm not
Everything
saying
I've seen about him, he's like a wannabe gypsy. But his parents raised him that way, though. His parents were very much that way too.
uh,
So he
yeah.
comes from a family that is very kind of eclectic. That whole Lenny Kravitz stuff. Like they're all just interesting
Love Lenny
individuals.
Kravitz. I wouldn't be shocked if Lenny Kravitz was Buddhist because I love Lenny
I'm
Kravitz,
going
but
to say he's probably in there as well. But that's what I'm saying. Like he comes from that circle. So
or Zoe, his daughter, because
yeah,
I mean, just Lenny just has that coolness
Lenny's
about
cool
him.
as shit, dude.
Isn't that kind of the thing, though? So that's we got to talk about on the myth because not all of you guys are cool, like what I mean.
I don't know.
But there's a coolness factor
I will
to a
say
lot of these
this:
people that we've mentioned so far.
everybody that I've personally met so far, that and I'm going to preface this the nicest way I can.
Okay.
Anybody that I've met personally that I believe when they say that they practice Buddhism.
Oh, you threw that in there because I was
Yes,
going to throw somebody at you, but you
yes.
put in there that I
It's
believe.
probably the same person we're thinking of too. Actually,
I guarantee you, Miss Namaste.
yes. So
Yep.
there's any individuals that I've come across that I've met that I believe that they practice it. They all kind of do have a similar vibe, man. Like a kind of just a chill, laid back vibe, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, she didn't.
No, and I don't believe this person
I
does
haven't even
either.
heard from her since I fired her.
No, and this particular individual that we're thinking of at the moment, I think that this person probably read a book or two, thought it was kind of cool, and wanted to tell people. I don't believe this person deep down
I used to read a
genuinely.
book on boundaries.
Touche. But no, and so yeah, I think that we need to add that in our myths one because I don't know. Is it a myth? I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Okay, I got one. What about? And I could see this on this guy too. He's real cool and chill. He's on the David Bowie side though. You know what I mean? That
Sting.
you would have thought. No, I didn't. But you told me that Sting was
Yeah.
Buddhist.
He's into Taoisms too, though, man. Like he's into tantric stuff. He's into
So
come on.
he's just more sexual in nature, is what you're saying.
I guess. I mean, not that Buddhism has anything to do with sexuality, but I think he likes the Eastern philosophies. I think he gravitates more towards that, anyways, because he's really big into tantric stuff.
Well, wasn't his wife the one that says that he likes 3-hour
Yeah,
sessions?
yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, dude, that's just no, no.
So who
There's
were
no
you thinking?
if you can't handle your business quicker than 3 hours,
You're not very efficient.
yeah, that's not efficient use of your time.
So who are you thinking then? You said on the David Bowie side.
Okay, somebody who probably found it through recovery as well, also from the other side of the pond. Kind of flamboyant, heroin dependence by history. Maybe on like a mixture between, like if you put David Bowie and Courtney Love together, you might come out with him.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
Are they dead?
we
Are
already
they?
mentioned. He's not dead. He is not dead.
Wow.
I'll give you a hint. Back when I was in high school, all the girls loved the way he did his eyes. He probably did eye makeup better than any woman on the planet.
Well, it's got
So
to
that's all
be
you have to say to a woman from the '80s. You just have to say, a guy that did eye makeup better than any female on the planet.
Um, God, I think I know the name you're talking about, but I can't say it right now.
Come a
Oh,
chameleon.
Boy George.
Boy George.
He is dead. I thought. I thought he just died recently.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think so. I think he died not too long ago from AIDS or
Well,
something, but I could be wrong on that one.
why would you say that? I think you're being
Um,
stereotypical.
but
No,
Boy
man.
George, okay, I can see that. I guess I can see.
Well, that would suck if Boy George is dead. I didn't know he was dead. Oh, you're gonna make me look it up.
Sure. Well, while you're
I,
looking that up, here's some older names that not
well,
everybody in today's generation might know. You
they don't
got
have it dead on Wikipedia yet.
Leonard Cohen. He was a singer
Why do I know
songwriter.
that name?
He was an old school singer songwriter. John Cleese was another one. Was an actor.
Oh, the English dude?
Yeah.
Didn't he do like English movies or something?
Anybody on here on this list with the last name Chopra, I'm not even going to mention because I think that's obvious.
Exactly. That's like it's cheat. That's like cheating.
You had Penelope Cruz. She's
That's pretty interesting.
I would have guessed her Scientology only because she was with Tom Cruise for a little while.
There you
So
go.
I just would have
Yeah.
guessed that.
Maybe that's why she went the Buddhist route.
She got tired of that.
Well, just to counterbalance the hyperactivity and the craziness.
You know, the thing I was very interested though
You know what I mean?
is looking through some of these lists.
Yeah.
What I found there's a common thread in a lot of these. A lot of them though. There's a lot of Fortune 500 company CEOs on here, and I
Well, I
wonder.
don't know who they are.
Well, you have like Jack Dorsey. He was the co-founder and CEO of Twitter. William Ford Jr. He's an executive director at the Ford Motor Company. But the thing that, okay, one of the other names that we said that we both had to kind of look up and we questioned the validity of it. I did look it up finally to figure it out.
Well,
And this is where we'll have to maybe discuss this a little bit more on next week's Myth show.
okay.
But, and this is probably more of a personal thing for me, I guess.
Okay.
I don't. A lot of times people consider meditation to be strictly Buddhist. Now, we don't own the copyrights on that. You know,
Okay.
meditation's been around for a long time.
Right.
Is it a massive part of Buddhism? Absolutely.
Right.
Is it a tool that's in our toolbox? Absolutely. But we don't own the copyright to that one. The only one that we really own the copyright, if you want to put it that way, would be mindfulness. But with meditation, it's widely used in many other philosophies. And I pause anytime somebody tells me that somebody is considered Buddhist because they meditate. Like you're not really Buddhist because you meditate. Like that's great that you use that tool and it's awesome and I hope it gives
Yeah.
you something in your life.
Mm.
But you know just because I own a Bible doesn't mean I'm Christian either. You know what I mean? And so I just that's where I take exception sometimes. I think it waters down, and that's where I think the myth starts to come into play because I think there's a difference between faking it and actually being it.
That's next week's show,
Yeah.
Trini.
But Bill Clinton is one of them. Bill Clinton is on the list as a Buddhist, and when I looked it up, though, he said he turned to he hired a Buddhist monk to come in
Oh,
and help him meditate and things of that nature. So, to me, I would question if is he a practicing Buddhist or is he just meditating? If he's just
yeah.
meditating, I'm not going to call that a Buddhist.
Yeah, that's probably somebody judging him to be Buddhist because he meditates. I doubt that if you could find me a quote that Bill says, "I am a Buddhist," then,
Well, you're never going to
then
find that because he's still
I
in
don't believe it.
politics.
I don't believe it.
Even if he was,
That one I don't believe.
he wouldn't
That
come
one,
out and say it.
yeah, I think that's a myth.
Um,
Now you did mention because you were talking about Tom Cruise and Penelope Cruz. So typically you would think a couple is the same, a lot of times, right? And we don't know who influenced the other, but this couple was Hollywood's probably most famous couple for a while. Probably we all were like, "What are those babies going to look like?" Because these are two beautiful
oh, I
people.
know exactly what you're talking about
Of course you do.
now. Come
They're
on.
not together anymore, which
No, but
it's
even
so
his
non-Buddhist.
his ex is on this list too.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. So maybe it's him. Maybe he's the influence.
maybe I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and then Jennifer Aniston is on this list as well. So,
See, I could see that.
oh
I
yeah,
could see that.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
That's the cool factor to the next level too.
I
You know
like
what I
one of
mean?
his movies, 7 Years in Tibet, where he actually did a whole movie about that. Like, so,
It- that dude is just probably one of the coolest dudes on the
yeah,
planet.
I want to know him. Yes,
Yeah, Brad,
absolutely.
he's definitely been touched by something very special,
Yes.
and he's just got that real cool vibe about him.
Yep.
So whatever he's doing internally, it works.
Yeah.
Works.
But yeah, his ex was on there as well, Jennifer Aniston. That whole they're in there, and then the
So
other.
what his story is then?
I'm sorry.
I wonder what his story is with Buddhism and
I
where
don't know.
he found it kind of thing.
And then of course you had the other couple now. I guess they're somewhat famous, depending on what circle you're running in, and that
Okay.
would be A Rod and J Lo. The two of them, they're Buddhist. And
I
so
would
it's,
not have. I would not have. I would not have thought that.
yeah, I don't know.
All right. So is that a recent addition to the list? I mean,
It doesn't say when they're added. It just has the list here.
God, I wish we had the when they were added, like when they converted, kind of
Right?
thing. I
Because
mean,
well, A Rod, with the whole steroid abuse thing and the coming out line and stuff, it's not
uh,
very doesn't fit within the precepts there.
oh, I'm just thinking about how many times J Lo has been in relationships too, as well.
Yeah,
It's like, is that because of A Rod then? Because A Rod, I could see A Rod being Buddhist,
really.
literally. I mean, even though I mean, there's some other things that I'm not even going to get into that, but A Rod, even though excess may have been an issue, um, with just the way he managed himself, but he does have a cool, chill demeanor, even through all that.
Right,
You know what I mean? Whereas she's just like a normal, cool person, man. I
right,
mean, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have seen anything in her. But she to me appears to be somebody that she's willing and to be open to whatever, and if it's good and makes her feel good, I
right,
think she is the good all American. To me, J Lo is the good all American person.
right.
Like she's done this, she's done that, she's made mistakes, she's had difficulties in relationships, but at the end of it all, she's just
Yeah, she bounces back every time.
she seems, yeah, she perseveres,
Yeah.
and I got to give it to her, man. She is the American dream.
Another name on the list, which I think is actually kind of cool, and this one I probably will, if not after the show, look up to figure out when this
Uh oh.
person found it, just because I'm curious.
Okay.
George Lucas.
Oh,
I'd be
I
curious
can
to
see
find
that.
out when.
Oh, I can see
He
that.
seems like a very interesting individual.
Yeah.
But the thing I noticed for a lot of people that I have looked into in the past, not necessarily for this show, but just in general, like when I was doing my own growth in this world, I found a lot of people would either find it after moments of severe trauma or heartache, they would come
You
across
would
it,
think. You would think.
or I noticed a lot of people once they got old enough and had money and spare time, they would find it. Right? Like I noticed a lot of people that kind of a trend. Like they didn't find it in their youth. They found it when they were older and kind of like their mindset shifted a little bit. They became more open to things. Maybe I don't know.
Also, in this country, I don't think you're going to find a lot of broke Buddhists. Not in this country.
Maybe yeah.
It's not a faith or belief system in the poorer communities. Is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when we say in this country, if you say it's all running rampant in Hollywood or in elite circles in New York, I believe that. I could see that.
Well, that
Probably
was
more
one of the
West
myths.
Coast.
That was one of the myths that we're going to talk about next week.
Ah, well, then we'll talk about it next week.
And we got Alanis Morissette is on this list. Isn't it ironic?
All right, yeah. Isn't it ironic? Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's probably why she doesn't make a lot of music anymore.
Maybe. And of
She probably
course
stopped being so angry.
I think one of the more
I kind of liked her anger. She's one of those artists that, like, you know how, have you ever, in this, I hate to say it, but it's sad when someone's in their crises, they put out some of their best
of
shit,
course.
man. And then
Well,
they get better, and then it's like,
well, it's hard to have that same kind of passion when you got like Mercedes in the driveway and all your bills are paid.
but I don't think so. I don't think that has to be the case, but it appears to be the case, right? With a lot of music,
That's what it
it's
feels
like
like.
as soon as they get money and as soon as they're feeling better, it's like their music kind of like bland.
Yeah,
That's
it
really sad
changes.
because she made a lot of really cool stuff. I'd
Um,
like to know when she became Buddha because it sure wasn't when she was angry, telling us that
well, I think
I'd love to listen to
one of
their
the more
tape.
famous ones on the list that's on here that I think most people associate with Buddhism these days would be Steve Jobs. He's on this list, of course, and I think a lot of people know that these days. Those are pretty
Yeah, that's
pretty.
not a shocking one.
No, it was pretty out there though. I mean, he was open about it. A lot of people talked about, it, especially after his death. It was very widely known.
Yeah. Another one that was pretty out there about it, pretty open, it was Russell Simmons.
Okay.
Russell Simmons is probably one of the more famous people on your list that has been out for a long time. But he's like, probably got into it the way you were talking about with the meditation and all
Right.
that stuff. But he eats well. He
Yep.
takes care of himself. He's always been the smart Simmons, you know. But the reason I found it a little different was because his brother is a reverend. So his brother is one faith and he's another faith. So they didn't get it from faith. And also neither inspired the other
Right.
to come into the fold. But Russell was always the driving force behind, Run DMC, behind Beastie Boys, and so many others.
Yep.
So
Then you have Ron Reagan, which is President Reagan's son.
really,
His son, not the not senior.
oh, I know who you're talking about, but I thought his son was Michael Reagan.
It says Ron Reagan, talk show host and son of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, maybe I just don't know the name of his son.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him. But another one on here I think is pretty obvious for a lot of people. If you know his story, if you know kind of the relationship he has with his sister and kind of the things he's done in the world and kind of how he conducts himself, they wouldn't shock very many people, I don't think.
Well,
Keanu Reeves. Now, if all you watch is Bill and Ted, then you might not walk away with that same sentiment.
another more stoner than Buddhist, but okay.
Well, if you know the story with his sister and what he does for her and
Yeah,
how he supported her and helped her, like
I heard he's
a genuinely good human being. I think it's very interesting. And of course, you already said him, Steven Seagal, but that dude is he's a part of everything apparently.
Well, I want to go back to two things. One, when we mentioned Russell Simmons and the Beastie Boys, Adam Yauch, who was originally Jewish, probably converted. I wonder how much influence the lifestyle and Russell had on Adam, because that's pretty interesting. What is that, MCA?
Well, you don't have to even really convert though, right? I mean, you could practice both.
I don't know if a Jewish mother would feel the same as what you just said.
Well, it doesn't matter what they feel. I mean, truth is truth.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that that's actually one of the myths.
So you're saying you could be a practicing Jewish person and practicing Buddhist.
Yeah, 100%. Buddhism does not go against any major religion or philosophy out there. People think that it does because for whatever reason it can't.
But it may go against their other religion, though.
No. All the like, it's basically just all about compassion and finding your own path away from suffering.
Oh, we're gonna have to get a reverend and a rabbi on here then.
Sure.
Maybe even a priest. Kind of see what they feel about it.
Sure.
But you also said the Twitter guy, right? So you said Twitter,
the CEO of Twitter.
said Apple. So now you had Twitter and Apple. So the next one, is obvious.
Mark Zuckerberg is on here, and he's Buddhist as well.
So maybe Buddhism is the new, what do you call it? What was it?
The new fad?
No, the Scientology. Maybe Buddhism is the new Scientology. And
except for the fact that this has been around for over 3,000 years.
Well,
Except
maybe
for
not,
that,
but not in Simi Valley. It hasn't.
Yeah.
But everybody in Simi Valley that's making any money, you're trying to say is Buddhism. Now.
That's what it looks like on here. And a lot of Hollywood, like Oliver Stone's on here, Sharon Stone.
So Hollywood went from Jewish to Buddhism.
Yeah.
Or from Jewish to Scientology, now to Buddhism. Is that what we're hearing?
That's what it looks like. But according to you, though, like people like Tina Turner, for instance, you said has been around for a lot longer. So
she's not Hollywood, though.
Well, no, but
Turner's not Hollywood.
Okay, I see.
And they're not. And I'm talking Simi Valley in Hollywood.
Well, you got George Takei. He was.
Well, I want to go back to Oliver Stone. That doesn't shock you that such a big name in Hollywood?
No, because have you seen his movies? He's weird, man. I could totally see him finding something off the path, huh?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like he's a weird dude. He sees things from a weird perspective,
which is why he's like so in tune with my brain.
But that's why I could see him taking a different path. Like I could see him because Buddhism would be considered a different path here in America.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying
so
with that. Now Oliver Stone is in tune with whatever brain I really do have, however you want to label it, define it, diagnose me with. Oliver Stone is in tune with the frequency that I'm in tune with.
Okay.
Whatever he puts together somehow resonates real deeply inside me. So that's he's to me he's brilliant. I am an Oliver Stone fan.
I don't think that I didn't see him on this list, but there was a very famous quote by this person. They didn't really say that they were Buddhist, but they said if they were to ever pick anything as far as religion or philosophy, it would be Buddhism. And I was kind of like shocked when I read this. Albert Einstein. I was like, wow, okay. He,
That would be interesting.
there's a very famous quote from him where he talks about that, where he said that would be the one that he would subscribe to. So that was an interesting quote when I read it.
So are you guys claiming him? Is that what you're saying? Are you claiming Albert Einstein?
I don't know. He can be whatever he wants. Then you got Steve and Elaine Wynn from Wynn Resorts.
They just opened up today. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think they just opened up the resorts today.
Another one.
Well, that's interesting because that's Las Vegas, right? Wynn Resorts. So
Yeah.
so the land of excess.
Yeah.
That's
I can
that's
see that keeping them grounded, though.
Yeah, that's
You
pretty.
have to. And as far as the politicians, there's some names here I don't really know that well.
By the way, time out for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Chuck. But speaking of resorts opening back up, a good friend of ours, David and Jackie Siegel, are opening up Westgate. It's back open, by the way.
Oh,
So
nice.
Westgate Resorts back open. If you are a person that likes to vacation, or you have just a quick little mention to maybe consider Westgate Resorts in one of their properties. They do a lot for us, as not only our friends, but as people for our foundation. So that's the Westgate Resorts.
Right on. And while you're looking at it, we forgot to mention Goldie Hawn and her daughter, Kate Hudson.
I love Goldie Hawn.
Herbie Hancock is on here.
My favorite actress of all time is Goldie Hawn.
Katie Lang, I know you'd be excited about that one.
How would I be? I can't even mention one Katie Lang song.
I don't know, neither way.
She's angrier. Is she angry or is she happy?
I don't know.
I always thought the only time I can even tell you I've heard anything about Katie Lang, wasn't it when like Trump went in office? Wasn't she like really angry on stage? Wasn't she one of the ones that was real angry?
Probably. Here's
So
a
that
name.
was very not Buddhist of you, Katie.
Here's another name on here that I think is interesting.
If that's true.
Patrick Duffy.
That's what I said. Aquaman, fool.
Oh, that he was. I didn't know he was Aquaman.
Patrick Duffy's Aquaman, and he had a cool demeanor, man. Patrick Duffy's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't, man. I didn't know that one. Yeah, I didn't know he was Aquaman.
Uma Thurman. How about Uma Thurman?
She's on here? Right on. I can see that, though. Anybody associated with Quentin Tarantino, I can see.
Dude, if you would tell me Quentin Tarantino is Buddhist, I would say he got into it much later as well.
Probably. He's not on the list, full disclosure here.
Yeah, he's not on the list. He cusses too much.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I cuss too much, too. There's a lot of writers on here as well.
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker is an actress.
You had said George Takei before I accidentally cut you off. I'm sorry.
George Takei from Star Trek.
That's that guy with that voice. Hey now, that voice, right?
Yeah, he's the gay guy in Star Trek. That's
or the Asian guy in Star Trek. He doesn't play a gay character.
No. Now that's if you follow his Twitter and everything else, man, he is the gay guy. Like he is the champion of the gays.
I know, but he doesn't play that on Star Trek.
No, not in Star Trek.
So you can't say he's the gay guy in Star Trek.
Correct, but he is the gay guy from Star Trek. How's that? Those are his words, bro. Like
he has such a. His voice doesn't go anywhere near.
But I think he had to hide it for so long, though. He is so out right now.
Dude, he is just so over dramatic. I mean, he took a page out of William Shatner's book and made his own.
Yeah.
He is so overacting dramatic.
Yeah. And then.
But no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was a Buddhist.
Yeah, but
clearly, I mean, we mentioned a lot of gay Buddhists, so clearly, I guess one cool thing about Buddhism is very accepting to gay people. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this now because we are.
Is that a myth thing too?
It is. I don't know if it's a myth. It's just an often misunderstood thing, like
or not understood enough that it's very accepting to all types. In other words, it doesn't limit you or doesn't judge you based on your sexual.
It doesn't care.
It doesn't care.
Like, it just doesn't care. Has nothing to do with your suffering or lack thereof.
And that's probably what would help some people gravitate towards Buddhism in Hollywood or in the celebrity scene. That maybe they needed something to hold on to, needed some faith things, and maybe because of their sexual orientation, other things may have seemed more limiting, and Buddhism was open to them.
My mother chimed on here and says, "Have you heard my son?" I'm assuming she's talking about me.
Trinity is Buddhist.
I am. I am. I haven't always been. I was not raised in it.
No.
But so yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think we've covered most of the major names that appeared on the list there. I do think
Which is the one that surprised you the most again?
Rosa Parks. That's the one that kind of surprised me the most. Once I read kind of more about it, it was less surprising. You know, the peaceful resistance, that kind of thing. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. But face value, when I first read it, I was like, what? Like, I thought that was wrong, actually. Like, that to me was going to make the whole list lose credibility. And so I Googled her name, and I was like, that just doesn't seem right. When I Googled it, many websites all kind of confirmed later on in life there was a specific monk that she met that kind of influenced her a lot. And that was the role that she took.
I would have believed Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
I would have believed that.
Sure.
She's just got a cool vibe about her, the way she speaks and stuff. But she's not. You can't claim her. But she would have been. Who would you like to claim of all the people out there that we got like 4 minutes? Is there anybody out there that you would like to say is Buddhist that we don't have any thought or idea that the person is? Is there anybody that you would have thought, just by the way they are, that you would have thought would have been on this list?
I honestly haven't given much thought to it.
I have one.
Okay.
Steph Curry.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. There's just a coolness and calmness about he presents himself. I would have believed that, and I would say Michael Jordan.
I would selfishly want Michael Jordan just because I'm a big Jordan fan.
How close he was to Phil Jackson. Yeah. I would have thought that through the death of his father, the loss of his father, through the tremendous changes in his life, I would have thought I would see him on the list as a convert to that belief system.
Well, we don't know that he isn't.
Yeah, we don't. That's what I'm saying. Those two right there, I would have thought.
Well, Phil Jackson obviously is. We didn't cover his name on here, but he absolutely is a very famous one. And he brought Zen Buddhism to every single team that he coached, both in L.A. and Chicago. And even in this latest documentary, The Last Dance, they discussed it in there about how he would bring in the Buddhism. And there was many of behind the scenes things when Jordan was talking to everybody and he was mentioning, oh, that's that Buddhist stuff, whatever. So he's if he's not a Buddhist, he's very well aware of the Buddhist philosophies. And so I find it hard to believe that being that aware that you don't incorporate them into your life somehow, some way.
Right. Well, that's why those two, though, they scream of what I perceive as stereotypes of Buddhism. Those two guys. Right. Scream. Now, who doesn't? And I'll end with this and let you do your closing. Is O.J. Simpson.
My mouth was open on that one. You got me there.
You guys probably don't.
No, I'm good.
Even if it was, you probably wouldn't claim him.
You never know, man.
Sorry,
everybody deserves compassion, even him.
He doesn't deserve compassion.
It's just harder to give it to some people, I guess. But no, I'm definitely excited to do myths next week because I think there's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about it now. I wish we were doing it now.
Yeah, I know. But I will say I don't have a closing today. I don't have any tips because all we did was just a lighthearted, let's discuss who is or isn't. But I will leave it here. I will say that there was a question that was posed. I'm in a couple of different groups on Facebook for the Buddhist community. And there was a question that was posed, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that really caught me off guard. And I thought for sure I would have had a really good answer for it, but I didn't. And I don't know what that says, but the question was posed, if you could ask the Buddha, which is Siddhartha Gautama, any question, what would it be? And I honestly don't have a question for him. Like, I thought about that. Like, what would I ask? Like, if I was religious, I would have a ton of questions for Jesus or for God. I would have, like, literally millions of questions. But for the Buddha, I really wouldn't have any questions. Like, to me, he answers everything that I would need answered within the text. I haven't read the entire Pali Canon, nor would I. It's like 30 books, but it's huge, man. It fills up an entire room.
I have a question for him.
Yeah, what would that be? Like, if you had a question for him, what would it be?
Can I get you anything?
Yeah, he's probably tired right now.
No, because I would expect him to say, I have everything I need.
Yeah.
But if he would ask for anything, I would go, idiot.
But yeah, and I think you just nailed on it. I think part of the reason why I really wouldn't have anything, I don't have any burning questions is I'm at peace. Like, I don't require any of those questions to, like, it's not that type of a philosophy that requires answers.
I agree.
And so I would have lost that bet actually. Like I never thought about it until I read that question. I was like, wow, I don't have anything. I wouldn't ask. I don't really care. I'm good. I mean, not to say I wouldn't want to meet them and hang out, but I wouldn't have any burning questions I need the answers to because it's not that type of philosophy, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting. Anyways, that's what we got today. No three tips today. We just kind of have some fun. This is kind of a lighthearted show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, be sure to tune in as well because it's going to be about myths. And I think a lot of people are going to really, hopefully, enjoy that show because I think there's a lot of you out there who are really curious about Buddhism, but you don't know kind of what what it entails. You have your own thought process of what it is or what it isn't, and so hopefully we can answer those questions for you. I will have my own myths that I can bring to the table that I've heard. If you have any, feel free to reach out to us on social media or to tune in next week and to ask them live, and we'll do our best to answer them. If you do want to watch us on social media, I am at the Dharma Guy. He is at the Dope Doctor. We are at WPSN99. You can also check us out at Now Matters More. And if you'd like to give, if you want to help out the cause for addiction, you can call 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters, or you can go to nowmattersmore.org, nowmattersmore.org, and you can donate to our who we are and what we do. And if you need help, call that number, and we will help you as well. And that's once again, if you're struggling with the disease of addiction, we had a loss in our community a couple days ago, or what, a week ago, I guess. And it was a really good friend of the foundation. Sorry for your loss. You know who I'm talking about. And life does go on. And I sorry for your loss, man. If you're watching this, and for the rest of you guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, share. We're gonna stick around after the outro for a little bit if you want to stay on with us. If not, now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.